This isn't like the usual vlogs we've been putting up on this channel. It was just so that we could fill you up on what happened between Cape Town and the next video that we will put up. After exploring Cape Town for 3 full weeks, Shish and I left on the Garden Route. So the Garden Route is basically a big tourist trail that begins in Cape Town and ends in Port Elizabeth, the next biggest city on the coast. And this is such a beautiful drive up about 700 kilometers or so along the coastline that you have a huge variety of so many things to see, from nature to cafes to beautiful beaches and so much more.
So our first stop was in Hermanus. We originally planned to spend maybe 2 or 3 days here just to do the cage shark diving. But then this was during the Christmas week. Every hostel on this garden route was sold out and any hotel we could search online was like totally overpriced. So that was the reason we slowed down in Hermanus for almost a week. This also gave us a chance to relax, slow down, enjoy the beach. We would swim every other day, cook
It was a
most of the time.
very nice experience being there. After we left Hermanus, our next stop was Knysna. Along the way, we did see a couple of other places, but Knysna was so beautiful, we decided to stay there for 2 days and we found a very comfortable hostel. Because it was in the very center of the city, we had access to walk around. We went to the waterfront, we enjoyed a bunch of delicious meals. But I guess we were so overwhelmed with all of the stuff that we did in Cape Town and all of the filming and editing we still had left. We just decided to take that time off to enjoy Knysna for ourselves.
And honestly, on the other side, we felt after looking at Hermanus, Gansby and Cape Town, every other town on this garden started to look very similar for us. There was nothing new that we could film or talk about.
I will say honestly, it's not that the place isn't beautiful. The places were absolutely beautiful. Every South African is so proud of, that being part of their country, and we totally get why it's amazing. It's just that I guess we had been traveling for so long at that point of time. That was like our 8th month or 9th month in Africa, and we just genuinely got tired. So we thought, okay, let's just get out of the camera, just be by ourselves, enjoy the experience, and then move on.
And Knysna was a perfect place for it because we had found this backpackers lodge right in the city center. There were so many cafes, we could walk around, the nature was nice and the roads were like slightly uphill, downhill.
So it was good exercise that we also got while, basically feeding on really delicious food all the time. A couple of days before New Year's Eve, we decided to get out of the garden route. We knew that once New Year's Eve comes through, it'll be really busy for the next 2 or 3 days because it was a long weekend, a long holiday, and again we'd get stuck. We hitchhiked from Knysna all the way to Port Elizabeth in 1 day, but along the way we did get to stop at a couple of places. We saw Plettenberg Bay, which was a very beautiful blue beach. After that, we drove across Tom's Rivier. All of this is thanks to so many wonderful people who gave us a ride. We met a Malawian guy who was very, very kind. We didn't really film it, but we just thought we'd share the experience. Not only was he so helpful in giving us a ride, he even tried to gift us money, which of course we didn't accept because it was just too much. And then another young couple drove us between Storms Rivier, where we saw the really beautiful arch bridge, out till Port Elizabeth. In Port Elizabeth, we were welcomed into the beautiful home of our friend Elaine. Elaine is such a fun South African. She hosted us in her home for almost 10 days in Port Elizabeth.
And we were surprised to know that she has actually visited India so many times.
While we stayed in Port Elizabeth, Elaine took us out to a bunch of different places. So we got to see all sides of the city, the modern city center, the old town area, everything in between, and even the beaches across the coastline. So it was very fun and we absolutely enjoyed it.
And one more thing she did was she would get us a soda every single day. She ensured that we tasted every single soda available in South Africa.
And Elaine also took us to a couple of fast food places. The one which we enjoyed most was Spur. Spur is basically a South African fast food chain where they specialize in meat. However, they also had enough vegetarian things that we really enjoyed it with the special sauces that they had.
So our original plan was to take the night bus from Port Elizabeth to Johannesburg, which would be our next stop. We had already done the research and we had an estimate of how much the bus would cost. But then when we actually tried to book it in the last few days of December, the prices had shot up almost 2 to 3 times.
So that is why on 6th of January, which was the first Monday after the long holidays, we decided to just hitchhike all of it in 1 day and try to get as far as we could. Even if we could get to Bloemfontein, which is a city midway between Port Elizabeth and Johannesburg, we figured we could stay there and continue the journey the next day. Oh, but that day was a very crazy one. Elaine dropped us to the outskirts of Port Elizabeth at around 7 am, and from that moment until 2 pm, we were able to somehow hitchhike without too much of a wait time. We didn't spend more than 40-45 minutes at every stop, and we managed to reach this town called Colesburg. When we got to Colesburg, we were really shocked because what we typically thought would be another 40-minute wait or a 1 hour wait just kept on extending for 4 hours. For 4 hours, we were just standing on the highway trying to stop any other vehicle that would be passing, but we just had no luck. Like, we even tried to go into the gas station to find out if anybody was passing through that route or they were heading towards Bloemfontein, but we were so unsuccessful. Finally, at 6:30, there was this guy who was transporting a rental car from Cape Town to Johannesburg, and he happened to pass through the spot that we were standing at. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have made it to Bloemfontein that night. He was so kind. He actually took us out all the way to Bloemfontein. He drove straight through, and we reached Bloemfontein around 9:30 in the night. Thank you so much, Sanil brother.
Okay.
Very nice meeting you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You really made a big difference for us. You were like, I had almost given up, thinking we'll have to just sit there all night long.
You must know that many people that have a good heart. Not all of us in South Africa, we have that bad heart. Some of us have a good heart to take care of another person from another country.
Yeah, brother.
So it's a pleasure for me to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thankfully, we had our couchsurfing host waiting for us there in Bloemfontein. So by the time we reached at night, she picked us up from the gas station and drove us to her home. We had a comfortable night's sleep.
So our original plan was to go to Johannesburg from Bloemfontein so that we can go to the embassy there and apply for the Lesotho visa.
But then something in my mind said, maybe there's a chance that we could take. So we decided to do something crazy. You'll see more about it in our next vlog. I'm very sorry if this video hasn't been as fun as the usual vlogs, but hopefully this sort of gives some continuance to what happened between our last videos in Cape Town to where we'll be in the next video. And we'll see you again in the next video.
Bye! It's 3,000 rand for that frog. That means it's 15,000 rupees.